Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Warplanes from a US-led coalition conduct 150 airstrikes on Daesh militants to bolster a major offensive on their Syrian stronghold of Raqqa. The group of 7 industrial powers pledged from Japan to seek strong global growth while papering over differences on currencies and stimulus policies. And Afghanistan's once teeming Silk Road border town of Hayratan sinks in an economic depression. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Dr. Ilham Haydar Aliyev of Azerbaijan on his country's National Day. His Majesty the Sultan also sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Dr. Molato Teshomi of Ethiopia on his country's National Day. And His Majesty sent a cable of greetings to Her Excellency President Bidya Devi Bhandari of Nepal on her country's National Day. In Syria, Russia has intensified airstrikes against the Nusra Front militant group's oil-producing and smuggling sites. More than 200 airstrikes were carried out by Russian and Syrian fighter jets, killing 10 people and injuring dozens others, besides demolishing residential buildings. In Damascus countryside, fierce clashes were fought between Syrian army and opposition fighters as 4 people were killed in an attack carried out by Daesh in Azaz area. Warplanes from a US-led coalition have conducted at least 150 airstrikes on Daesh militants to bolster a major offensive on their Syrian stronghold of Raqqa. The US is backing twin assaults against Daesh militants, one for Raqqa province and one for the Iraqi city of Fallujah across the border. A Kurdish-Arab alliance is being supported by coalition raids as well as US forces on the ground on its push for territory north of Raqqa city, Daesh militants' bolt hole in Syria. But Daesh militants captured territory from Syrian rebels near the Turkish border today. In Iraq, hundreds of displaced families have fled violence during a military operation aimed at retaking the city of Fallujah from Daesh militants. Thousands of civilians are believed to still be inside Fallujah, located about 65 kilometers west of Baghdad. Security sources said that around 20 of Iraqi elite army were killed and scores others were injured in a surprise attack that took place in Sajar area north of Fallujah. The sources added that Daesh militants received support to the area before the militants staged an attack by 7 booby-trapped vehicles against Iraqi forces and resulted in a number of deaths and injuries. Clashes between Iraqi government forces and Daesh militants outside the city of Fallujah continued for the 4th day of a large-scale military operation to drive militants out of their key stronghold. The group of 7 industrial powers pledged to seek strong global growth while papering over differences on currencies and stimulus policies. G7 leaders wrapped up a summit in central Japan, vowing to use all policy tools to boost demand and ease supply constraints. The G7 committed to market-based exchange rates and to avoiding competitive devaluation of their currencies, while warning against wild exchange rate moves. Referring to Britain's referendum next month on whether to leave the European Union, the G7 said an exit would be a serious risk to a global growth. The G7 leaders called on settlement of global disputes by peaceful means. The G7 summit demanded that North Korea fully comply with UN Security Council resolutions and halt nuclear tests, missile launches, and other provocative actions. The G7 also expressed concern over the East and South China Seas, where China has been taking more assertive action amid territorial disputes with Japan and several Southeast Asian nations. In a declaration wrapping up their annual summit, the G7 leaders called for regional and international cooperation on preserving freedom of navigation in the regional seas and cooperating to use the ocean in a sustainable way. Barack Obama became the first incumbent U.S. president to visit Hiroshima, the city that experienced the world's first atomic bombing, as he called for an end to nuclear arms. In a solemn yet brief ceremony, Obama and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe each laid a wreath at the Hiroshima Memorial Park. The two governments hope Obama's visit to Hiroshima, where an atomic bomb attack killed thousands back in 1945, underscores a new level of reconciliation and tighter ties between both countries. Afghanistan's once teeming Silk Road border town of Heratan, a door to Central Asia, sees few travelers these days. Its decline, a barometer of economic depression in the country's north. More details in the following report.
A bridge from Afghanistan to Uzbekistan, the only passage between the two countries. It's a door to Central Asia and used to be a busy stop on the Silk Road trade route. But today these railroad tracks are often empty. 80 kilometers away in the provincial capital Mazar-e-Sharif, traders feel the pinch.
The situation is not good. There are no wagons, no ships carrying goods to this side, no trucks. In the last few years, if we bought something, we had to wait 5 to 6 days for a ship to be free and deliver the goods. But nowadays, there are no ships and no one is importing.
Mohammed says his company's income has decreased by 70% in less than a decade. After the Taliban regime was toppled in 2001, aid came pouring in, businesses flourished, and so did hope. But with the end of the NATO's combat mission 2 years ago, things are going downhill.
In the past, there were many foreign offices, and they gave us many projects. But now there are no more projects coming from foreigners. The foreigners brought aid before, but now there's nothing.
After more than 3 decades of war, Afghanistan's economy is in ruins, and over a fifth of the working population is unemployed. The country produces very little on its own, and when it does, it struggles to export the goods, blaming high taxes and shipments delayed by neighbors fearing competition.
If they want to export raisins or mandarins, it will wait too long in Heratan and the goods will go bad. In the past, we used to export mandarins, raisins and potatoes to Uzbekistan and Central Asia.
Trade with Central Asia has dropped by 60% in 6 years. And in a country still plagued by terrorism and insecurity, the future is bleak. While most of this province is safe, the Taliban have launched their annual spring offensive in neighboring regions, bringing the threat ever closer and potentially putting further pressure on traders.
Still to come in our news bulletin. Poor rehabilitation work inflict irreparable damage to Pakistan's Shah Jahani Mosque outside the cultural center of Lahore.
ترجع زي ما كانت. هو بقى في معلمين خلاص. انا اللي بفضح الحراميه والنصابين. الحالة اللي جايبها الشيطان سكن جواه وعشش
في رمضان.
أنا ما حد يقدر يجبرني على شيء أنا ما ودي فيه.
الحين هذا وتخلي راشد؟
إذا راشد على حياته ما قعد ولده عنده، تبينا إحنا نلفيه؟
في رمضان.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Sultan's School held a graduation ceremony for its 36th batch of the International Baccalaureate Diploma students for the current year. It is the only school in the Sultanate that grants this certificate. Some 33 male and female students from grade 11 and 12 obtained this certificate after passing the required international courses which prepared them for their higher education. During the ceremony, a number of students who excelled in school activities were also honored. The Oman oil price July delivery decreased today by 77 cents, reaching $45 and 69 cents per barrel. The average price of Oman oil June delivery 2016 amounted to $39.40 per barrel, thus $3.06 higher than May delivery 2016. In the governorate of Dhofar, the activities of Marbat family gathering were concluded. The 8-day event aimed to encourage talented youths in various fields and promote craft industries. It has also embodied the Omani heritage in its various forms. Participants and sponsors were honored at the conclusion ceremony for their exerted efforts and contribution to the success of the gathering's activities. A citizen in the wilaya of Deba in the governorate of Musandam succeeded in the cultivation of cantaloupe melon. He brought the seeds from Thailand, taking into account the temperature in Deba, which is convenient for this crop. The harvest was abundant and easily sold and promoted in the wilaya. This encouraged a lot of other farmers in Deba to plant this type of melons. Pakistan's Shah Jahani Mosque is a rare example of the country's Mughal heritage outside the cultural center of Lahore, but poor rehabilitation work inflicted irreparable damage to the mosque's original features. Here is a report.
An old treasure threatened by time. Pakistan's Shah Jahani Mosque was constructed in the 17th century on the orders of the Mughal emperor best known for building India's Taj Mahal. As centuries passed, its charms began to erode and repair work started in the 1970s. But it ended up doing more harm than good.
Salty water and salty clay were used in the repair work without considering the fact that the mosque is located in a depression. And because of the depression, the surrounding saline water accumulates around the mosque, and through capillary action it seeps into the walls. And this capillary action could even be destructive for the upper structure of the mosque.
Another victim of bad renovation, the facade of the main arched entrance. Its stones engraved with Quranic verses were taken to Karachi's National Museum and dumped in a junkyard. They were retrieved this year, but were installed in a replica outside the building. A source of anger for the mosque's prayer leaders who want them back.
We've learned that the walls of the National Museum in Karachi have been decorated with those stones. But according to Sharia law, you, intoxicated with power, don't have the right to use the mosque's belongings anywhere else.
The mosque still attracts some tourists and worshippers, but there are no plans for any restoration, meaning its beauty is bound to continue to fade away.
Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear to partly cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and generally clear over the rest of the Sultanate, with chances of cloud accumulation and scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains. Low clouds and fog late at night and early morning are expected along the coasts of Arabian Sea and parts of the Governorate of Buraymi. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate along the coastal areas of Sea of Oman, while it will be southwesterly light to moderate along the coastal areas of the Arabian Sea. Rest of the Sultanate, it will be northwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be moderate to rough along the coasts overlooking the Arabian Sea, with a maximum wave height of between 2 and 3 meters, while on the western coasts of the Governorate of Musandam, it will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. Along the coasts of Sea of Oman, it will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Warplanes from a US-led coalition conduct 150 airstrikes on Daesh militants to bolster a major offensive on their Syrian stronghold of Raqqa. The group of 7 industrial powers pledged from Japan to seek strong global growth while papering over differences on currencies and stimulus policies. And Afghanistan's once steaming Silk Road border town of Heratan sinks in an economic depression. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.